What's going on, guys? Bengal again here, coming back at you with another video and another mock draft. And this one, I've actually not pre-planned at all. And I know you could say, hey, oh, you're lazy, no planning going into the video. But on the contrary, because I think it's going to add some spice to it if we just do everything off the fly. And the number one rule of mock drafting is do not look ahead. You don't want to like pre-plan picks because it works better for a certain team. Well, actually, the number one rule of mock drafts is if someone disagrees with you and wouldn't do the exact same thing as you, it's because they're a fucking idiot. So remember that one. Hit that subscribe button if you're new for more mock drafts. Excuse the language, and let's jump into it. Order is based on the current records, so keep that in mind. This is, not how it's going to be at the end of the year, more than likely. Things could change. We're doing it based off of this order. Last one we did was a couple weeks ago. Again, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss more mock drafts in the future. And again, let's jump into it like I didn't already say that. Jets on the clock at number one. A couple things I want to address with the Jets first is that I'm well aware that Sam Darnold has very poor coaching in Adam Gase, who should be fired already. I'm aware that the offensive line is not good. I'm aware that there aren't great receiving threats there. Even though Braxton Berrios has gotten open quite a bit, there's not a whole lot there. But individually, Sam Darnold has played poorly. His completion percentage is below the expected level of where it should be. So when guys are getting open, he still hasn't been incredibly accurate. I know a lot of this could be scheming, but at some point you got to not make excuses for Sam Darnold. And when there's a player who is a much better prospect after his 3 years in the NFL, you have to consider taking him, and that's what we're going to do here. Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson, prototypical QB with added mobility. He is big. He's got a rocket arm. His accuracy and touch is incredible, and he also offers you a lot as a runner. And in today's NFL, you got to look at guys like Josh Allen, even Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson. All these successful quarterbacks in the new age are able to run and able to move around in the pocket, and Trevor Lawrence can certainly do that, and even when escaping the pocket as well. My favorite team, the Giants, on the clock at number two. This is a tough one because the Giants have so many needs. Like, pretty much every single position on the field is a need for the Giants. And picking at number two, there are a lot of options. I think if you're addressing like a true 3-4 outside linebacker that can do a lot of things, you're looking at Micah Parsons. But in this case, I think Gregory Rousseau, for me, is probably the third best player in the entire draft behind Trevor Lawrence and Penei Sewell. I know he's ranked a little bit lower here, but I can't pass on Gregory Rousseau at this point. The Giants need help on the edge very badly and a true threat pass rusher. Rousseau has tremendous length. His arms are so long and is developing pass rush moves. It hurts him, I will say, not playing this year for Miami, sitting out and focusing on the draft, but his sophomore year was so good at the U, and would love to see him on the team. Washington football team at number three. Another team really, really bad. And I think they'd be extremely happy to get this pick and have the Giants pass on offensive line. With Andrew Thomas taken at number four, I just don't really know if the Giants would take Penei Sewell at that point. They definitely could, but I have decided not to go back-to-back offensive tackles. And we're going to take an offensive tackle for Washington football team. Penei Sewell is really, really good. Has been a rocket left tackle for Oregon over the past 2 years. Really, really solid player. I'm not sure if he opted out or not because the Pac-12 isn't even back yet. But Penei Sewell in there, I think clearly the best offensive tackle in the class. He's only like 19 years old right now, or maybe just early 20s, early 20, I should say. He's super young, already super big and amazing. Penei Sewell is a very good player. Dolphins, for their first of two picks projected in the top 10, pick number 9 is owned, I believe, by the Houston Texans, if I'm not mistaken. Or, no, yeah, it is in this. So the order's not quite right, but Dolphins at number 4. Again, a bunch of really good players available. You know, you're completely scratching off quarterback here, and you're looking at what type of player can really impact the team the most. And I think at this point that's going to be Jamar Chase out of LSU. Stud receiver. And even though in the past draft we saw receivers fall a lot, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf in 2019, and then fell a little bit in 2020. Before that, receivers were going really high, getting overdrafted. You look at Corey Davis was a pick inside the top 5. John Ross went top 10. Even further back, Tavon Austin went top 10. A lot of these guys are going to go a lot higher than you expect. And Jamar Chase is probably a top 5 player in the draft, so I don't think it's ridiculous to have a receiver go inside the top 5. I like the Dolphins receiving core. I do. I think they could use a little bit, or someone a little bit more dynamic. I like Devontae Parker. I really do. I love Preston Williams. If you've been on the channel for a while, I think he's a stud. But they need someone who's a true number 1. And that's not to say that Devontae Parker can't continue to develop into that. But Jamar Chase is too big of a weapon right now for the Dolphins to pass on. They need to build that offense. Tua is going to be your QB of the future. You got to get him weapons. This could be an offensive line pick as well, but with Penei Sewell off the board, I think Jamar Chase makes the most sense. Bengals at number 5. You're thinking maybe offensive tackle, but the top one's off the board in Penei Sewell. Are you going to reach down for Alex Leatherwood? I don't really think this is a spot for receiver at all. I like Tyler Boyd. They drafted T. Higgins at the top of the 2nd. And it depends where John Ross is at this point. I know A.J. Green is certainly getting up there. I don't really think you go receiver here. I'm not really sure what you go here for the Bengals. It might just be a best player available. And I think, as odd as it kind of makes me feel, I think Micah Parsons would be that guy. And you'd have to assume that they rotate him a little bit, but he's a traditional, like, he'd be a Sam linebacker for them. Someone that can rush the passer, but be really, really effective off the ball. A versatile guy here that I think would make this Bengals defense a whole lot better. Broncos at number 6. I think this has to be a cornerback for me. I know they're really, 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 I can't say enough reallys, weak at linebacker. I'm just not sure Dylan Moses ends up going this high. This is really, really high in the draft for him. You don't really see a lot of linebackers go this high anymore. I know there are some exceptions to that rule, but even a guy like Isaiah Simmons, who has struggled a little bit this year and was extremely versatile, even if maybe not a true Mike linebacker, I'm not sure that a linebacker goes this high. Like maybe a few picks down the board, looking at maybe 10 or 11 in the draft, but I don't think this is a Dylan Moses spot. And I mean, I know Devin White went at 5 to the Bucs a couple years ago, but I just don't think linebacker's the move. I think this is corner, and I think it's the best corner in the draft in Patrick Surtain. Need to get younger at that position. I know Michael Ojemudia was completely exposed these past couple weeks. He's really bad. Patrick Surtain is really good. And maybe not the greatest scheme fit in the world for a more zone-heavy Broncos team, as far as from what I've seen so far. Surtain is incredibly good, great press corner with excellent man cover abilities. He's too good to pass up at this range. Jags at number 7. They're another team with 2 first-round picks in this draft. Other one is at 18 from the Los Angeles Rams. And I'm not sure that this would be a QB spot if Justin Fields wasn't on the board, but I'm taking quarterback. Justin Fields headed to the Jaguars. A little bit weird. Wouldn't have expected to make that pick, but with this order, that's what's happening. Minshew Mania is over in Jacksonville, and they have their future in Justin Fields. I think the Panthers probably would have wanted to take him at number 8, but he is no longer available. And did they settle for their consolation prize in Trey Lance? Maybe they stick it out with Teddy Bridgewater. I'm not really sure that this is a Trey Lance spot. I don't think his one single game showcase changes anything for his draft stock at all, because it's one game. He didn't look amazing in it. Got better as the game went on. Maybe shaking the rust off a little bit. I think Trey Lance is a really good prospect. He reminds me a lot of Jordan Love. Jordan Love went late in the first round. Trey Lance, after one season at North Dakota State, I'm not sure he goes this high. So who is the other option here for the Panthers? I don't really think this is an interior O-line spot at this point. I don't really even think this is a linebacker spot either. What would the Panthers do? I don't want to take a QB here. I don't want to take a QB. But I think maybe with a new head coach in Carolina, Matt Rule wants to take his own quarterback to mold and maybe sit behind Teddy Bridgewater for a minute and then come in when the time is right, or maybe sit the entire year. We're going to have Trey Lance go to the Panthers. I don't love that. I think he's a really good player. I just don't know the likelihood of that right now, as the Dolphins are back on the board at number 9. Bunch of really, really good players still available. They went receiver with the first pick. And I think after trading Raekwon McMillan to the Raiders, the Dolphins need help at linebacker. That much is obvious. Can't really have Andrew Van Ginkel playing as much as I've seen him play so far. What Jags, Dolphins, he was on the field like every play. It seemed like. Maybe it wasn't the case, but that's how it felt. I think they have to go Dylan Moses here. Athletic, sideline-to-sideline linebacker who hits about as hard as any linebacker you're going to find. Really nice pairing there with Jerome Baker, as we have the Atlanta Falcons at number 10. They're a team that's definitely weak in the back end. This could be corner or safety. They're losing Takk McKinley in free agency. Didn't pick up his 5th-year option. So I would assume they have no intent on re-signing him. But it's what player at this point would make the most sense for them. Is it too early for a safety? Yeah, I think so. I wonder if they would take a cornerback at this spot. Took a cornerback in the first round last year. I'm not sure that makes the most sense. I almost would want to go D-tackle here. It's not like they're incredibly weak at that position. I think there does need to be somebody good next to Grady Jarrett. Better than what they have. I'm not confident about any of these guys here. I think this is too early for safety. I like Javon Holland quite a bit, but I'm not sure that this is his spot. It's just top 10. You see no safeties go that high anymore. That really play over the top, unless they can do it all. Like Jamal Adams went real high. This is a tough one. This is why it's so difficult when you don't pre-plan these, because I'm just not really sure what to do. I'm almost tempted to give them a wide receiver. Calvin Ridley's a really good player. Julio Jones is one of the best receivers in the league, if not the best still. But Julio's not going to be around forever, and you do need a good third option. I don't think I can talk myself into a receiver here. I'm going to give him an edge rusher. I gave him Kwity Paye last time. I'm going to give them someone with versatility to move inside. Carlos Basham bulked up a ton. I think he's like 280 now. I think he's actually like 280, not 275. I think he's up to 280. So this is someone with inside flexibility. I think this is super high for him, but I really don't like a lot of the other options at this point. I'm not sure that the Vikings go receiver here. I think this has to be an offensive line pick. More than anything, their secondary is so weak as well. They're so bad back there. Again, this feels too early for a safety. And if I go, I'm not going to give him Creed Humphrey. He's center, primary. They have Garrett Bradbury. I think this is Wyatt Davis, if anybody. I'm actually going to make it Wyatt Davis. First interior offensive lineman off the board. Chargers at 12. I gave them a receiver last time. I still think that's fine. Like, they have what? Sam Tevi playing left tackle. That's really bad, obviously. But their offense has been fairly productive. They have practice squad receivers in. There could be real weak at cornerback with Chris Harris, Casey Hayward, and Desmond King, all in weird situations, either with age or contract. Sam Tevi's just too bad. We're going to give him Alex Leatherwood to play left tackle. Lions at 13. Another team that's real weak on the inside, particularly at linebacker. I want to say A'Shawn Robinson's a free agent. So they could go defensive tackle. And some really good D tackles still on the board. Every single one of them, in fact. And I'm a big Marvin Wilson guy out of Florida State. A receiver, Marvin Jones is in a weird contract spot. Kenny Galladay is really, really good. There's not a whole lot else outside of that. I still don't think receiver is their biggest need here, though. But there's not a whole lot of great linebackers at this point. I think Mcgrone has the chance to go a lot higher than people would expect. We'll have to see how he plays, because a lot of this is just projection with how guys are going to develop. We have not seen the Big Ten play this year when I record this. It's too early for, I don't think they take a receiver at this point. I really don't. I think this might be the first defensive tackle that's off the board. And for me, that is Marvin Wilson. I think he's the best defensive tackle in the class. He is a huge body with amazing rush ability, 6'5", 311 with an extreme burst off the line. Love his rush moves. He's more of a finesse guy, speed rusher. Love Marvin Wilson on the inside, and I think the Lions would as well. Great pairing next to Deshaun Hand. Eagles at 14. Another team that's just real bad. The NFC East is terrible. They need help on offense pretty badly. Their secondary's bad. I think that Nate Gary is probably the worst starting linebacker in the league right now. He's terrible. But is it too early for Cameron Mcgrone? I think Cam Mcgrone is the next fit. Maybe even Jabril Cox. Jabril Cox might be a better fit to go inside the first round. And at 14, I wouldn't hate that, actually. Wouldn't hate that. Receivers, extremely weak for them. I hate this. Dude, I love Jalen Waddle so much. He's my favorite player in college football, and the fact that I have to give him to the Eagles here is real bad. But week in and week out, the Eagles throw out the worst receiving core I've probably ever seen in an NFL game, and it gets worse by the week. It's unreal. Like, I thought, when they had Nelson Aguilar, it was bad, but it's somehow even worse than that. Jalen Reagor's been injured, and I think people are going to think Jalen Waddle's a similar player to Jalen Reagor, which I don't really buy that. I know he is a deep threat speed type guy who doesn't offer ideal size at 5'10", 182, but he plays a lot bigger than that. I think Jalen Waddle is an absolute weapon, and we've seen another NFC East team go smaller receiver at 14 in the past. Odell Beckham Jr. in 2014, I believe, was taken at number 14. And he's been a very good player in the league so far. I think Waddle, I really honestly think Jalen Waddle has similar potential to that. Jalen Waddle is really, really good. But that's enough about him. We're off the Eagles. 15, we got the Raiders. The Raiders are an interesting team because I don't really think they need linebackers at all. They have Nick Kwiatkowski. They traded for Raekwon McMillan. They signed Corey Littleton along with Kwiatkowski last offseason. I think they're not going to take a linebacker here inside the first round. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think if anything, if they're going to take any type of an edge rusher, it would be Quincy Roche, someone that offers a nice speed rush alongside like a little bit different from a Max Crosby. So that's certainly something they could look to do. Derek Carr's played pretty well this year, which is a surprise. I'm not sure they'd look to go quarterback. I think this could be a defensive tackle spot. I think it's a D-line spot. I don't think they take cornerback here. Even though it's not a particularly strong position. This could be Caleb Farley, I guess. I really do think it's D-line. And there are some really, really good ones available. I think the best one, though, and people are projecting Christian Barmore to break out with playing time. I think Jalen Twyman is in a similar type situation. And I'm going to use this comparison because it's how I felt back in 2014, where Aaron Donald was like projected outside the first round for a lot of the year. And I know they're both Pitt defensive tackles. I'm not saying Jalen Twyman is Aaron Donald, but they were both projected outside the first round for a little while. Twyman, I think because he's opted out of 2020. And then they still ended up going pretty high. Aaron Donald was, I think, around the same spot as well. I think he was, number 12? Maybe number 11? 13? Somewhere in that range. Twyman is a really, really good player. And I think it's the complete package at IDL there. So that's who I have the Raiders going with. We have the Browns at number 16. They need linebacker really, really badly. I think that's their glaring hole. Mac Wilson coming back from injury next year is going to take the weight off that a little bit. I don't really think they need edge that badly. Myles Garrett is maybe the best edge rusher in the league right now. Olivier Vernon on the other side. I'm not really sure how long they plan on keeping him around. But I think this is probably a linebacker spot more than anything. They need it so badly. I'm going to give him Jabril Cox. Really solid player for LSU. Adept in zone coverage already. The Browns would be greatly appreciative to have a player like him, I'm sure, even if 16 feels a little bit early for him right now. Bears at 17. Probably a little bit disappointed that the quarterbacks are off the board so early. I'm kind of surprised they did that as well. But Nick Foles is terrible. Mitchell Trubisky is terrible. Do they reach for Kyle Trask? Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna say Kyle Trask continues to play well. I'm gonna ride the hot hand. I know this is really odd because he wasn't amazing last year, but I think teams are gonna really enjoy his size. Pause. But it's prototypical. 6'5", 240. Really strong arm. He's had a great year for Florida so far. If this continues, he's going to get a lot of first-round buzz. And we're going to, of course, ride the hot hand. We have to project here. It's only October. It's early October. It's really tough to say what's going to happen. Trask could end up going in the third or fourth, but we're gonna say he sneaks up into the first round with a very strong season for the Florida Gators, who have played pretty well the past couple of years. 18, Jags, second pick. Went with Justin Fields already. Where do we go here? Cam Robinson's not good at left tackle. I think they're still going to continue to stick with Juwan Taylor, but I think the Cam Robinson era is over. I think I gave them Sam Cosmi last time, but I really have no motivation to change that. He's just a solid player, and he'll come in and do the job. I think I gave the Colts Caleb Farley at this point last time as well. I don't really think they need safety. I like Malik Hooker. I know he's injured. I think Kari Willis has played pretty well. I don't really know that this is a safety. I still think they need help on the edge. Like, they need a more talented, dynamic pass rusher. And I'm not sure they're going to find that in this draft right now. I don't really think they need cornerback that badly either. They have some players I think they can continue to improve and progress and develop. Like Rock Yassin, for example. Kenny Moore is pretty good in the nickel. I don't know that it's not a need. They don't have too much else outside of that. But I don't really I think this, if anything, is an edge rusher to me. And I'm going to go Quincy Roche. Like him a lot. Played at Temple, transferred down to Miami. We'll have to see what happens with him over this course of 2020. I believe he did not opt out. I think he is playing. Roche is a really, really fun player to watch. And maybe that actual athletic, dominant pass rusher that the Colts have been looking for. I mean, they took what? Ben Banogu? Was he a first-round pick? I think he went at the end of the first round. And he hasn't been anything. Roche maybe could end up being something. For the Cardinals at 20, I mean, they have a lot of needs. They really do. The team has not played as well as a lot of people expected them to. I don't think they need receiver. I think Andy Isabella can continue to develop. They have Christian Kirk, who's a solid player at worst. And they have DeAndre Hopkins, who, again, like Julio Jones, is maybe the best receiver in football. I don't think this is receiver. Their offensive line is bad. I think I gave him Creed Humphrey last time with the Oklahoma storyline. He's a solid player. This is about where you might see a center go. It's so boring to do the same thing over and over again. But I'm going to give Creed Humphrey to the Cardinals. Oklahoma connection with Kyler Murray. We are going to team them back up together here in 2021. Titans at number 21. This is another thing where, like, it depends if they bring back Jadeveon Clowney, because edge isn't that much of an issue. But then at receiver, do you bring back Corey Davis? Because his contract is expiring either this year or next. And outside of A.J. Brown, there isn't a whole lot to like at receiver. I don't think they need tight end. Their tight end group is pretty good. I think Jonnu Smith is a free agent, but they do have Anthony Ferkser. They have some pretty solid tight ends. There's a third one who I'm blanking on right now. I'm not even going to try to think of his name. But I think you got to replace Jarrell Casey somehow. So we're going to go back to defensive tackle. And we're going to say Christian Barmore, this is your spot. Someone with, again, unbelievable size at the position, 6'5", 310. And if he can develop this year the way a lot of guys think he can at Bama, he's going to be a player to watch, sneak into the first round easily. Last time I gave the Patriots, I want to say Pats, I changed, Jay Tufele. He just kind of feels like a Patriot player to me, and sometimes that's what you go off of when it's a position of need. But they are weak on offense. They definitely don't need running back. I think the running back room is really talented overall. Rex Burkhead fits what they need, and he's the worst running back they have, maybe. With a healthy Damian Harris, you have a lot to like. Healthy Sony Michel, a lot to like. I don't think running back's a need at all. But at receiver, it's terrible. And the fact that Devontae Smith is available here at number 22, I think the Patriots might jump to take another receiver in the first round the way that they finally did with N'Keal Harry a couple years back. So Devontae Smith is going to be my pick there at 22. Get the Cowboys at 23. This is Javon Holland. Simple as that. They need help in the secondary so badly, particularly at safety. They are so weak there. I think a lot of guys wanted them to sign Earl Thomas, one of my favorite players ever. But, I mean, the Texans players didn't want him in the locker room. It seems like the Cowboys are making no effort to go after him. They need a safety really, really badly. I think Javon Holland's going to fit the bill here. Bills at 24. I mean, you look at cornerback, feels kind of weird for them because, like, you look at Teron Johnson as their worst, like, corner that gets playtime, you'd think, and then Levi Wallace and Tre'Davious White. Cornerback feels pretty good, but Levi Wallace has an expiring contract. I think Teron Johnson's on his way out as well. You do need another cornerback to pair with Tre'Davious White in the event that those guys leave. And even if you bring them out, cornerback depth is extremely important in the NFL. So I think I'm going to go with a corner here. Caleb Farley fell all the way to 24. This is a guy who's already really, really good. His technique is incredible for someone that is transitioning from receiver, where he went to Virginia Tech as, and he's been really, really good for them. And the Bills, who could definitely use a versatile player like this, cornerback, move him around, maybe in the nickel. I think he works best on the boundary, though, and he'll be a very good addition to that secondary. And their offense has played really well. I think this is more about the defense this year. We've thought of the Bills over the last few years as a team that's defense first, offense second. But I think they've probably switched, and that defense needs to be improved. Steelers at 25. You got to look to replace Big Ben at some point, yes. But I think their defense needs the most help. I really do. Their offenses look good. I think this could honestly be an outside shot at running back. Like, it depends how much you like Anthony McFarland or Benny Snell. I don't know what to even expect with James Conner, but I don't really think you need receiver that badly. James Washington, Juju Smith-Schuster, who I don't love individually, but I think Deontay Johnson's a stud. I don't think a QB goes here. They just aren't good enough. I overdrafted Kyle Trask. All the QBs are gone. So even though late in the first round you're thinking about a player where you maybe would take a QB of the future to sit under Big Ben for a year, I don't really think this is a quarterback spot at all. Alejandro Villanueva is a free agent. So you could take a tackle. Maybe Walker Little at 25. Yeah, all right, let's do that. Saints at 26. Another weird team because at quarterback, Drew Brees is so old and like bad now. I hate to say it. Drew Brees has a noodle. It's just what it comes down to. Michael Thomas only runs shallow crossers and slants because Drew Brees can't throw the ball far, and that limits the offense. And the dink downs to, or the dink and dunks and the dunk downs to Alvin Kamara work as well as they do because it's how their offense is run to stay successful with Drew Brees and his arm. It's time for him to retire, honestly. He's been one of the best quarterbacks of all time, but I mean, it's 2020 and he's into his 40s. So I think we have to consider that. Quarterback is not crazy to consider here. But what quarterback would you take? Jamie Newman? No. Are you going to say that KJ Costello in an air raid is real? No. Brock Purdy on a strong Iowa State team that just beat Oklahoma? Still no. So what do you take? Maybe Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah? Yeah, I think you still have Demario Davis as your Mike. I think Owusu comes in as your Will and plays well in that role. They need someone that is not named Alex Anzalone to get a lot more playing time. So maybe Owusu-Koramoah makes sense there. For the 49ers, this has to be a cornerback for me. I really think it has to be. And there are some good ones available. How do I keep letting Shaun Wade fall? The reason that he's falling this far in this instance, and I know a lot of guys are going to be like, Shaun Wade should be a top 10 pick. And I don't necessarily disagree with you. The thing is, We have really only seen him play in the slot, and I explained this a lot in my last mock draft. He's been only in the nickel, really. And even though he's been so good in that role, a nickel cornerback is not going much higher than this. They really are not. If he proves he can be effective on the boundary, he will shoot up so far. He will be inside the top 10 with his athleticism and ability. Shaun Wade is an easy top 10 pick if he can play on the boundary, which we just don't know if that's the case yet. I think it will be, but we don't know. Bucks at 28. This could be an outside shot at a QB, but there just aren't really any available. I don't think this is a receiver spot at all. Like, you might have something with Tyler Johnson. Scotty Mitchell's done the job. I'm not even sure if this is a running back. Shaq Barrett does need help on the other side. Yeah, I guess edge makes sense here. I don't really like many of the options for them. We could go with like an edge setter. I think Kwity Paye could have a good year, though, in the Big Ten. I think he really does lack dynamicism. But I think he's a solid player, and it'll definitely be a first-round pick, in my opinion. So, Kwity Paye at the end of the first round of the Bucks. Packers at 29. This is a weird one for me. I think they need linebacker more than anything. Like, Oren Burke should not be playing, but they need receiver really badly. But they don't draft receiver. They just say, Aaron Rodgers is good enough, whatever. Please go receiver. Please take... I mean, any of these guys would be good at this point. They just don't take it. They just don't take it. If I took corner, who would we go with? You know, it probably would be Tyson Campbell. I think he's a good fit next to Jair Alexander on the other side. Has good size, physicality, and I don't really feel like they're more of a zone team. I think Tyson Campbell makes sense. Ravens at 30. Another weird one. I'm a big fan of some of the moves they've made over the past few years, especially in the draft. I'm not sure that this can be an offensive player, but sometimes with the weapons they have at receiver, their offense can stall out. Love Mark Andrews as a tight end. Hollywood Brown's a really good player. They do need safety. A true edge wouldn't be the worst thing either, especially with Matt Judon playing under the franchise tag. I don't think this is Rondale Moore. It's so tough. It's so tough for me here. I think maybe we go edge rusher, and I think Aiden Hutchinson. I think they do need a true edge setter, and that's what Aiden Hutchinson offers you with that size. It's not like an exciting pick, but he's a good player. Jets at 31 has to be receiver for me, and with Rondale Moore on the board, you got to take someone dynamic, and that's what he can be. And then the Chiefs at 32. I think their defense is pretty good. Their offensive line needs so much help. This could be best offensive lineman available. And I don't know who that would even be. I want to say it's Trey Smith. He offers you versatility to move outside as well. So Trey Smith is going to be the one for me. With Marshall Yonda retiring, guard became a huge need. They don't have much at left guard either. Like, I get that Ronnie Stanley's a really good left tackle. Orlando Brown Jr. has not looked good this year, even though he's been amazing so far in the league. But Trey Smith to play right guard or left guard, as my voice is given out on me, is going to be what I decide to do there. That is my mock draft off the the dome. This would look probably a lot different if I actually thought about each pick in advance. But I think this one was a lot of fun to do. See how random it could be. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. I'm sure it's going to be terrible. And I will see you in the next one. Take it easy.
I hit it at the park, bend bones. See me high step to the end zone. My life like a game, Nintendo. Playing with the best, let them know. Get off the track, the train's coming through. Yeah. Promise you get in my way, then you best believe I'ma just run over you. Yeah. I'ma turn taking it back to the house. Defensive joke, I'm laughing so loud. Speedbird's good.